Alright guys, what's going on? I'm sitting in the garage. I'm watching Randy from Countryside here, and I seen his employee riding the Husqvarna mower, and it kind of made me think like back to some of my employees that I've had, and I kind of thought, you know, I'd like to kind of start maybe sharing some stories from some of the employees that I've had, some of the funny stories, some of the crazy, the outrageous stories, you can't make this stuff up, right? So those kind of stories. So I'm going to share two stories with you guys. One is a guy that I hired, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and then I'm going to tell you a story of the craziest interview. I mean, I'm talking the craziest interview I've ever done and I've ever heard of. So the first story is a couple years ago. I'm sitting at my shop. I'm getting loaded up, getting ready to head out to go mow. At this time, I kind of was working on 2 crews. I had 1 crew out there working, and I was going out there and doing some stuff by myself or with 1 other person. But I was at the shop. I was getting all my paperwork ready. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff, and I think it was about 9:30 in the morning, something like that. And I'm getting loaded up, getting ready to head out to go mow, and I get a call from my lead guy, and he's like, hey, so-and-so, well, for the sake of this video, let's call him Fred, all right? His name wasn't Fred, let's just call him Fred. So my lead guy calls me and he goes, hey, Fred has got something stuck in his ear, he needs to go to the emergency room, he's hurting pretty bad. And I'm like, what? What do you mean he's got something stuck in his ear? And my lead, you know, he's like telling me, he's like, dude, I don't know what's going on. He's sitting by the truck, and you know, he looks like he's in pretty bad pain. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I start driving there immediately. I'm driving there, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I call one of the other guys on the crew. I'm like, hey man, do you know what's going on? He had some earbuds that he was listening to music as he was working, and apparently he pulled it out, but this little rubber piece right here stuck inside of his ear. And I was like, really, that's it? So then I asked him to go kind of look in his ear, kind of check on it and do that kind of stuff. I wanted to see how bad it was. And so he does, he calls me back and he's like, man, it's down there pretty far. I can't really see it. And I'm like, how did it get down so far? It's like all the way down in his ear canal. And he's like, man, I don't know. So I'm brainstorming. I'm kind of freaking out a little bit. I've never had a major injury or nothing like that. You know, I paid my workman's comp. I did all that stuff, but man, I don't want that stuff to go sky high. I just got a lot of things going through my head right now. So I called my wife. My wife is a nurse, and I call her up and I'm like, hey, here's kind of the situation. What should I do? And she's like, well, how far down is it? And I'm like, honey, I don't know. So what we ended up working out is I went there and I picked him up and I drove him to see my wife. And as we're driving there, I'm like, dude, what happened? And he's like, man, I took the earplugs out, the little rubber piece stuck in my ear. He says, I couldn't get it out, so I grabbed an Allen wrench. And I went, what? You grabbed an Allen wrench? Why would you grab an Allen wrench? He's like, well, that's kind of all I could find. I was trying to kind of dig it out of my ear, but I accidentally pushed it all the way down in my ear. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? So I'm flabbergasted at this point. I'm like, how in the heck do you do that? So I get to my wife and I kind of told her the situation, you know, beforehand. So she had already gotten these long tweezers. They're like this long. And luckily it was pretty easy to get out, but I will say, like, you know, we had him tilt his head over and we shined a light down in there and you could barely see the tip of the rubber piece off the earbuds. So to make a long story short, we ended up getting it out. He actually felt pretty good after that. He said the pain went away. I don't think there was anything wrong. He actually went right back to work. And I told him just to kind of take it easy, but I think it just got down there a little bit far, and it was bothering him pretty good. So that right there, I was like, especially the Allen wrench. I don't even want to know. I mean, like trying to dig out something out of your ear with an Allen wrench, I don't understand that at all. So anyway, the craziest interview I ever did, I had a guy come to the house. This was like 4 years ago. This is when I had my shop at my house before I went to the other shop. And I met him outside, and we're right in the driveway, and I got some mowers out there. I'm doing something, and we're just kind of chit-chatting and all this stuff. And he's asking me questions about the job, kind of the normal stuff. And you know, I'm asking him his experience, you know, all that type of stuff. And then we got to the point to where, you know, I really didn't feel, I didn't know either way what I was going to do with him. So I kind of just told him, hey, you know, hey, I'll let you know, blah, blah, blah. And we were almost done with the interview when he looks at me and he says, hey, by the way, do you work by any schools, or do you mow any schools or anything like that? And I said, what? And I immediately knew why he was asking, but I wanted him to tell me. And I said, no, we do residential houses, and you know, no. And I was like, why? Is there a problem? He said, well, I'll have to check with my parole officer. I'm not really sure, you know, kind of my restrictions. And I'm like, what's going on here? And he goes, well, I got a little, what do you call it? I'm drawing a blank here. Sex offender list. He's on the sex offender list. And I was like, what? Seriously? And he's like, yeah. And that's when I kind of told him, I was like, yeah, not really sure this is going to work out too well. And I kind of just told him, I said, just check with your parole officer and get back with me, right? And then he just kind of kept talking. So we just kind of kept talking a little bit. And next thing he tells me is that, I don't know how we got on this subject. I have no idea. But he starts telling me how his grandma, apparently he lives with his grandma, and she's got dementia, and she's got all this stuff, and he's kind of there taking care of her. And he says sometimes in the middle of the night, his grandma will come and crawl into bed with him and spoon with him, and because she thinks he's somebody else. And I'm like, what? That's weird. I mean, I feel bad. Your grandma's got dementia and all that, but I'm sorry, but that's off your rocker weird. And he's telling me, and I'm like, okay, you know, in my mind, I'm like, why are you telling me this? Why would you tell anybody this? Anybody, let alone somebody who's trying to, you know, might potentially hire you. And and then he tells me, he says, yeah, you know, I really don't have the heart to kind of set her straight or nothing, so we just kind of lay there. And I'm flabbergasted. I'm like, what? Seriously? You just spoon with your grandma? And then he just keeps talking. He just keeps talking, and then he hits the trifecta, and he tells me that he thinks that video games is a better tool for teaching our servicemen and women, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, on how to shoot. The video games are a better tool to teach them how to shoot as far as accuracy and all that kind of stuff goes than what they actually teach. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, this guy he's a little out there. You know, I'm pretty weird myself. I got a lot of things that I'll probably never share with you guys. I'm kind of weird, but man, this put it way over the top for me. So at that point, I was like, okay, man, yeah, well, I'll let you know. See you later, buddy. And I'm just like, I got to get out of this situation really, really fast. Needless to say, I didn't hire him. So anyway, guys, just kind of wanted to have a little fun video here and just kind of share some experiences, some funny things. I'll probably do this a little bit more. I thought, you know, I don't have a lot of interview stories you can't top that one. You can't even make that one up. And what's funny about that one is I immediately called Kevin, Fall River Kevin. We became pretty good friends right before this had happened. And I was like, hey man, you're not gonna believe what just happened. And I told him all three things. Spooning with your grandma, child offender list, and the video game deal. And he's just like, what? And he's like, I'm never hiring employees. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a decent laugh out of it. We'll see you guys later.